Okay. Hi, everyone. This will just be like a high-level overview of what Depop has been doing over the past 2 weeks. So we're in our third week right now, development. First week was we were on the technical side. We were doing research to find the best storage solution for a decentralized uh, identity, where we're hoping to have attestations, which would be stamps. People can verify for Gitcoin with dPOPP. We're also thinking like if this product gets forked by other projects and other projects have their dPOPP, like how will that scale? So that we have that thought process in mind. While the technical research has been progressed in the first week, we had user interviews to explore how users are thinking of the current CPOP solution and what users think of identity solutions as a whole in the Web3 space. And that was the first week. The user interviews did continue also into the second week. And in the second week on the development side, we've been building out like a POC, which is still being built out right now. For the technical research, it led us to use Ceramic as the main data storage solution, but Depop will remain somewhat data storage solution agnostic, so we can incorporate, say, someone wants to use in the future OrbitDB or some other solution, that will be an option as well. And we have just we're continuing the user interviews and doing like early design mock-ups, and that's pretty much just like a high-level overview of what Depop is doing.
What does dPOPP stand for, Fame?
Decentralized proof of personhood. And I'll just show like a early graphic.
That'd be awesome.
So that's not much to show in terms of like code process or anything, or progress, anything like that. Just we have like early mock-ups that we wireframed out. We're still building out the attestation provider, which is the IAM provider, and the passport authority and everything, and that's all in flux. So this is just like a high level. Yeah. So no, this is very high level. Nothing here is final, and this is still working.
Awesome. Who has questions for Fahim or for the group about dPOPP?
Is this separate? Like, would I add this on top of my proof of humanity? Does this play with it? Is it a competitor? How does it work with all the other ones out there?
So the idea with this is that I'll take my proof of personhood passport, I'll go to Gitcoin, and it'll give me a trust bonus score based on the attestations that I have approved. So right now for Gitcoin, there's like 9 or so attestations that include, say, Google, Idena, Twitter, and so forth. Like there's 9 other ones. There's 9 in total or so. And based on the amount of like attestations or stamps that you have verified, you'll get a trust bonus back. And so basically it's a way of civil resistance based on the number of attestations. Yeah, that's
I would say, Colton, the way I think about it is that proof of personhood passport is like a passport that you can stamp with other different civil services. So proof of humanity is one service provider. Proof of personhood is an aggregator of all providers. So think about like when you go to book a flight, you don't go to southwest.com, you go to Kayak so that you can search all of them at once. And the whole idea is that by creating an aggregator, what we do is if you're a developer building a civil resistant app, you don't have to choose one provider and tie your login to them. You can choose all providers and have the aggregation all rolled up in one place. So I think that that's sort of the idea. I would say aggregator versus single service provider is the TLDR.
yeah.
Unless it's changed since I was involved.
No. That's you're completely correct, Waki.
Okay.
That's yeah.
And the more ID providers, higher the score, right? For a given person.
Yeah, with nuance of governance has to decide maybe Twitter is only worth 50 cents because it's 50 cents worth of cost of forgery to have a Twitter account, but Proof of Humanity is worth $70. Like that judgment of how much it's worth should probably be up to governance.
Yeah, there's definitely a qualitative aspect that we're definitely seeing where like we did like an interview session with Disruption Joe, and we saw that a lot of when you're getting Sybil attacked by like just bots, they'll try to go through all the different verification methods, but you won't see the quality in the attestation methods that they're giving, because they're just checking a box for each one. So when you see attestations or like stamps that give a broader, nuanced view on a certain verification method, that becomes more Sybil resistant. And so we're taking that into consideration while we're building this aggregator.
Okay. Yeah, I was part of the human evaluation team, so we have seen a few different use cases in that, and it's an interesting spectrum because there are people who are not really bots. They are people, but they are forming a coalition and would do things that are considered Sybil, right, in terms of moving the needle a certain way, but they're not necessarily bots.
What I think is most interesting about this is that if you collect all of the data on a common substrate, but you allow for the aggregation algorithm to be forked out, then basically what you do is you can build up a network effect of where the aggregations and the attestations are. And then you can basically allow Disruption Joe and the FDD to publish their own algorithm and how they aggregate them. But then if someone disagrees, then they can go and publish their own different aggregator that has a different subjective view. And so you build the network effect of all the attestations being in one place. And then anyone can come in and have their own subjective views of how to aggregate those attestations. And I would love to invite other people who are studying Sybil resistance to come in and create their own aggregators once we have this credibly neutral data set upon which they can do it. So there's really some interesting things once this ecosystem starts to flourish. And I cannot tell you all how excited I am for a more Sybil resistant Web3. Vitalik blogs all the time about how it's Web3 and token-based voting is plutocracy and capturable by the richest. And if we can solve for Sybil resistance, not just for Gitcoin grants, but for the entire ecosystem, then that opens up a whole new ecosystem of one person, one vote DAOs, which is fundamentally more democratic than one token, one vote DAO. So this is so much upside for the ecosystem if we're able to pull this off.
That's awesome. What other questions?
Just like seeing the passion, like Iwaki's like talking about this problem with, and like this is definitely a problem that we're seeing in Web3 right now, and like it's something that Gitcoin is going to have a solution for.
I'm going to toss a softball. Is there plans for Gitcoin grants in the future to use the initial iteration or any iteration of dPOPP?
I think Kevin Olsen like laid out like a Gitcoin grant 2.0 Gulf like post, and it had dPOPP as like the way people would use. We would use their trust bonus score for verifying them on D grants, like from what I remember from that post.
I believe the answer is yes as well. Kevin, I don't know if you have thoughts on that though, on how you would like to see grants using dPOPP.
I mean, I think we're building dPOPP for D grants, and I know that Kevin Olsen has plans to even build dPOPP back into the C grants thing because it'll be available before before all of grants 2.0 is ready. So the answer is yes, and I think it's around grants round 15 that they're targeting right now.
Awesome. Any other questions, comments, thoughts on dPOPP?
It's
All right.
popping.
Well, thanks, Fahim, for taking that on and explaining it to everybody. I really enjoyed the conversation there. The passion's obvious from this group on the value that it's going to provide to the ecosystem.